To most players, support is the easy role to play. And after reaching GM on every support with an eternity peak on my main, I'm here to tell you everyone is right. Support is mad easy. Don't get me wrong, there are a ton of challenges that come along with playing support at a really high level. Some of those DPS guys don't quite understand that. I'm not gonna name names. At the same time, it ain't rocket science. Y'all tend to make it harder than it actually is. Don't worry, I'm about to give you the secret sauce so that you can cook on support. Tank and DPS players, stay with me now. I know we aren't talking about your babies, Psylocke and Magneto, but there will be games that no one heals you or they just suck because they didn't watch this video, but you did. If you watch, you can step up to the plate and carry if you need. Let's begin. Before we delve into the nitty-gritty of different situations, it is important to understand what your goal is on support. Everything you do on support needs to satisfy accomplishing this one goal, and that is to charge your ultimate as fast as humanly possible. This is contrary to the goal everyone tells you. Just heal the team and don't get picked. Think about it like this. If you aren't healing and constantly are out of the fight early, you probably aren't charging that ultimate very fast, are you? What's nice about the charging ult model is that it tells you how you should want to play each individual character in different situations. Let's take Adam Warlock and Rocket for example. Adam wants to flank and take off angles to charge his ult super fast, since he does a lot more damage than he heals in total. Rocket, on the other hand, wants to sit behind his team and keep them alive throughout the fight, healing as much as humanly possible, at least with his numbers right now. Sure, he does good damage, but rarely will he be in the effective range that he is charging more ult than just healing his team. If Adam tries to sit in the back and heal like Rocket, he is really going to struggle to provide value and vice versa. If Rocket tries to just flank and deal damage, he is not going to be able to support his team with his healing as efficiently either. When you switch your mental goal from simply keeping the team alive to charging your ultimate, you will never find yourself playing a support suboptimally, and you'll carry harder and keep your team alive longer as a result. This mental framework will help us understand a lot that support has to offer, but it isn't quite everything. Understanding how to track enemy ultimates is also really important too, as it will help you learn how to use your ultimate and just general kit to counter the enemy's plans consistently. Outside of everything else with support, clicking your buttons better doesn't help you learn this. It is its own standalone skill that needs to be refined and mastered. The higher you go, the more impactful tracking ultimates and communicating that information to your team becomes. If you are a chef, outputting healing and damage to charge your ultimate is like your ability to use your tools to dice the veggies, perfectly cut the meat, and know what spices work best with that cut. Tracking enemy ultimates is like the recipe that informs you how to use those tools we just discussed. Plating this dish is mixing all of these concepts together and communicating it to your team. Farming ult is all well and good, but knowing what to use it on is crucial. Dealing damage is awesome, but what target you are allocating your pressure towards is crucial. Finally, healing is great, but healing the right teammate to enable them to utilize their ultimate against a key target is game defining. Hopefully this much glaze on ult tracking is enough to convince you why you need to learn this skill. So let's go over a few rules of thumb to learn this skill. Usually everyone in the game is likely going to get their ultimate every 2 fights, disregarding outliers. Okay, but what exactly is a normal fight? I would consider a normal fight being one where targets don't get eliminated super early, or on the flip side, don't just eliminate your entire team by themselves. The kill feed is an excellent source for this information. Normal also includes that the enemies are running a standard composition with 2 of each role. Compositions with 3 of a role are going to generate their ultimates much slower. This is apparent with 3 supports since they are all stealing from each other's ult charge. They're all stealing from each other's healing that they're going to be able to do. Marvel Rivals as a game rarely has normal ranked games though. Sometimes people are permanently getting sent back to the spawn room, and other times they're just farming. If someone gets eliminated early, that 2-fight concept to generate ultimate turns into 3 or 4 fights. You can practice by asking a friend to send you a code of one of their games that you were not in. The rank doesn't matter, just that you were not in it. This is important so that you have a completely fresh view of the situation. Then you can press H on your keyboard on PC to hide ult charge for each fight, and then look from the third person perspective and study the movements of a specific team. After each fight, Try to guess what ultimates the enemies have or how much they have charged each ultimate. Then uncover the ults by pressing H again and see if you were right. If you were wrong, watch the person that has ult or doesn't have ultimate again and see why they did or did not get their ultimate that fight. Keep repeating this process every other night and you will be significantly better in a month's time. When you feel your progress plateauing, take your practice a step further and start contemplating how support ultimates are going to be used next fight and which ultimates they would be best suited to counter that are available for the enemy. This is where you take a step in the practicality of the exercise. Eventually, you will get so good at this that you will always have an idea of how the enemy plans to approach the next fight and be able to carry by countering it as a result. Many of you ask when I'm live how I get better at this skill, and I usually just say intuition. But if I'm going to fully tell you the truth, it's because many years ago, I constantly used this method until I was super refined. It will be worth your time in the long term, I promise you. Now that we understand the importance of tracking ultimates and what our goal on support is, let's create a plan of how we are going to actually get there. This graphic on screen is going to help us organize our thoughts. Healing, dealing damage, and surviving all funnel into us charging our ultimate. Let's delve into each of these topics. Starting with healing, yeah, everyone needs to heal, and it's pretty easy to do. Most of the time, it just comes down to hovering over a teammate and shooting them. So the act of healing is not the hard part. Understanding how you should be healing is where things can get pretty complicated. Sometimes you have to choose between who lives and who dies. For example, if your Punisher is mid-ultimate, but your Groot is going to get taken out if he doesn't get healing right this instant, you're immediately going to be faced with a pretty difficult situation. Both targets are going to fall and you can only save one. Which one you choose to save depends on which one you deem to have more impact on the trajectory of the incoming fight. Saving the Punisher could be really impactful if the enemies don't have a tank present that's going to soak up this damage like a Magneto, or if you need to finish the enemies quickly. Saving the Groot could win you the fight if he is close to charging his ultimate and you have a combo ready to turn the fight immediately, like with a Namor or Moon Knight, for example. If the Groot doesn't have ult though, and the Punisher is going to clear the enemy team with your healing, the choice is simple. Heal the Punisher and win the fight. But understand that you must constantly analyze the situation and make the best decision with what you've got. What do I mean by that? If you have the opportunity to eliminate a target from the fight, then you mitigate all of the damage they would have done to your team had they stayed alive. For example, if you take the initiative and find a Hela that is half on an off angle and just take her out, you take all of the damage that she would have done out of the fight, effectively healing your team of all of the damage they would have taken. And this isn't the only thing it does, because this means all of that time that you would have spent healing your team can now be allocated elsewhere to possibly do even more damage and snowball your advantage to win the fight faster. Some characters lean more into this concept than others, but all supports share this playstyle in some regard. The most notable ones to mention includes Mantis and Warlock. The lack of healing they provide is made up by their lethal damage outputs. They thrive alongside the concept that dealing damage is indirectly a way of healing their team. After all, there is no room to complain about healing if the fight is already over before the team's health bar is even touched. There is one more topic though that trumps dealing damage and healing on support, and that is surviving. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've seen this in every support guide out there. Of course, it is important to live as long as you can on support, but most of these guides are wrong. Simply surviving is not going to cut it when you're playing support. It is not about just living, it is about what you do with your life while you have it. I cannot tell you how many students I have coached at the academy, link in the description by the way, that have heard this advice and taken it way too literally, causing them to stay so far away and get no value as a result. Even more noticeable though is that most support players don't actually know how to survive into different compositions, because like many things in this game, the solution is not black and white. There is a ton of nuance. The best way to improve at surviving on support is to put yourself into the enemy's shoes and think about what they want to do, playing in a way that won't let them succeed at what they want to do. Against a brawly character like The Thing, you probably don't want to be too close to him since he's just gonna beat you to a pulp. Instead, you want to create distance between you and him. In this case, your tanks are not your safety. Understand that it is different against dive characters like Venom and Captain America though. It's literally the opposite. They want to isolate you from your team, so it is easier to eliminate you safely. Against these types of characters, you actually want to play closer to your team so that they have an easier time forcing them out before they eliminate you. Finally, against spammy poke characters like Hawkeye and Hela, the best thing you can do is to play where they can't easily see and shoot you. Natural cover like walls or tank shields are your best friends against these types of characters. To summarize, surviving is important, but healing and dealing damage is too, so that we can accomplish our goal of generating our ultimate quickly. If we play around what the enemies are throwing at us, we will crush all of these challenges and win the game. Hold on though, there is one last detail that you are missing before you go on to carry some games. Knowing enemy ults is one thing, and charging your ultimate is another. Knowing when to ult is the final crucial piece to the support puzzle. The main question you need to answer is whether or not a fight is already lost by the time you get your ultimate and use it. Knowing when to ult is honestly easier than when you do not want to ult. You do not want to use your support ultimate when you are down 2 or more players compared to your enemies or are fighting a 4v6, for example. The only time you may consider wanting to use your ultimate here is if you have a very specific ultimate that could turn the fight, like the Punisher ultimate that we were talking about earlier. You also do not want to use your ult if you are up 2 or more players, since in these cases, the fight is probably already won. The main indicator of a bad support ultimate, though, is to immediately respond to an enemy support ultimate with one of your own. It is the greatest sin so many new support players make. You should do your best to wait to use your ultimate until you absolutely need to use it instead of just using it because it's convenient and you have it. This technique is referred to as squeezing and is especially important if you are playing a support that is not Luna or Loki. This is because Luna Snow's ultimate is 12 seconds long, while most others are only 8 seconds long. This means that if you ult right when the Luna does, you are going to be vulnerable for 4 seconds before her team is. When I put it like this, the importance of squeezing is much more noticeable. What you will find is that when you squeeze your ultimate, you sometimes don't even need to use it and have it for later. Let's talk about those situations you might want to use it on. First is if they have a specific ultimate that you need to counter. Think about ultimates like Storm, Bucky, Groot, you name it. By this point, if you're watching this video and you're this invested in the game, you probably know the scary ultimates. Second is if there is a key target on your team that is going to get eliminated if you do not use your ultimate. If a fight is close and you will lose if that person is taken out, it is okay to keep them alive with your ultimate so that they can charge theirs to win. If you foresee needing to use your ultimate in this way though, it is important to communicate this to your team and how you plan to use your ult so that the other support doesn't just ult as well and you double support ult. Lastly, if the fight looks turnable or is important to win, it is okay to try to make a play with your ultimate. I typically try to go for this on the last fight before the payload hits the next checkpoint on convoy maps. This is because holding the payload when you have the whole entire path to defend is easier and makes attacking much easier for you if you can halt the enemies there. Knowing when you can get away with turning fights and when you need to counter a big ultimate just comes down to practice though. You are going to troll and mess up and possibly get flamed for a few games. You are on the path to enlightenment though. Don't let the fear of failure halt your climb. If you mess up, go back into the replays, recognize your mistakes, learn, and do better next time. Through understanding your goal on support and tracking ultimates to set yourself up for success, you are on your way to improving and carrying ranked games like no other on support. If you want to learn more about each support individually, I have made guides on each one of them as well as taken them from bronze to GM individually. I urge you to check out those videos to learn the intricacies of their kit later. Other than that, you're off on your support journey. I hope you stick around, but until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.